You're very welcome to Galway. I hope you're having a really good time so far. There's no greater honour to be actually the mayor of your city, which you'll absolutely love. And as you see, that the sea is such a central part of our city, and we hope that it can grow in the future. The great thing about Galway is it's been full of explorers down through the years. When you think about one of the most famous explorers came here before he went off to discover America, Christopher Columbus. So we always claim that little story. We've also had amazing sports people down through the years that have used the sea as well, and have actually experienced some amazing adventures across the world. Two individuals that have done so much to promote adventure over the last year, and one of them who's spent his whole lifetime been mad, is probably the best way to describe it, and has travelled all over the world and done amazing things with it at the same time. To Enda Cunning, who most of you would know, who has in the past circumvented the whole world single-handedly recently, and also to Damien Brown, one of the Browns, a good traditional tribes of Galway name, and rowed across the Atlantic Ocean in conditions just like outside today the whole time. Words can't express what these guys have done. They have kept what technology has now made even harder to do, to actually become an adventurer, to be able to go through the bad times and the good times in that water during what happens. And with Enda's case, when the mast was gone, and you know, in Damien's case, when we had the sharks overturning the boat, I mean, you just can't make it up. I mean, it's just you're superheroes. So it gives me a huge honour, if we may, present you both with a cert today, just for outstanding achievement from Seafest, and congratulations and well done to both of you. So Enda Cunning and Damien Brown, good man.
Available to address us for the opening session, and it is my privilege to welcome to Galway Minister Damien English, who is Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, a man I got to know very well in a previous portfolio when he was Minister for Science, and the energy and innovation and drive he had for that, and I'm sure that same energy and drive will be very evident in his current portfolio. Minister.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me here today, Peter. Again, to see you down in your own space, doing your great work here. I want to thank you and the Institute for all the great work you're doing. Peter Heffron and all the team at the Marine Institute and all the other agencies who've been involved in organising this weekend's events and this whole festival of information and knowledge and everything. I think it's a great asset to this area, but a great asset to the country that we have this focus in this whole area as well over these couple of days as well. So thanks very much for the invitation. I want to thank the Mayor for having us in your hometown as well, and I want to thank Minister Sean Kine, who's a colleague of mine and working with us in this area as well. So again, thanks for the opportunity to say a few words here on behalf of our department and to address you. Very often people get confused when they hear Minister for Housing, what we're doing with the whole marine space as well, but we have responsibility for all the planning in this area, and it's an important area too, one that we take very seriously. But we work very closely with all other departments as well, with responsible for marine issues across government approach as well. So there's about 7 or 8 departments have a role in this, and I'm conscious you had 2 ministers here yesterday as well, Minister Creed, Minister Dennis Nocton, who updated from their policy perspective as well. So it's a great opportunity for us, with the help of all our agencies, to address you here today and to identify some of the issues that we're dealing with and to bring you up to speed with what we're working on the space as well. Again, first of all, congratulations to Damien and John on the 2 presentations they got there as well. I'll tell you, Damien and Enda, Mayor, when I heard you saying something about a lifetime of being mad, I thought you were referring to politicians. So I thought we were going to get one as well, but I thought John might get one too. But I think our form of madness is not the same level as some of those guys there, and certainly what Damien's carried out as well. So again, thanks for having me here, and again, I hope you enjoy today's events and the rest of the weekends as well. Again, this is the 5th year of our OOW Summit, and each year the world-class contributors provide a compelling and thought-provoking 2 days. This year, with our team, Investing in Marine Ireland, it is no different, and I've no doubt we'll all benefit from it greatly. I wish to take the opportunity this morning to update you on the work of my department across 4 marine-related areas. I wish to update you on the marine environment issues, our ongoing work in preparing Ireland's Marine Spatial Plan, and the legislation which will provide a much-needed overhaul of the Foreshore Act. Firstly, I want to focus my remarks on another area with a long history that has come again to the forefront in recent times, and that is the issue of seaweed. Seaweed harvesting has a long tradition in this country, going back many centuries. Seaweed was traditionally harvested to feed livestock or as a fertiliser applied directly to crops. In more recent times, though, the sale of seaweed has also helped supplement the income of families in many coastal and island communities. As I've indicated on a number of occasions, certainly in our meetings in this area and in the House of the Oireachtas, I and the Government are very conscious of the traditional role played by seaweed harvesters up and down the west coast of Ireland over many, many generations. I respect the heritage of seaweed harvesting and the way in which they have protected and safeguarded the resource through sustainable harvesting practices. I am also conscious of the potential economic value of this resource, which, when sustainably managed, has huge potential and can make a very real and sustained contribution to coastal communities. The challenge to us all is to ensure the coexistence of seaweed harvesting while we also embrace the opportunities which we are now presenting within this sector. We are now seeing, through research and development, through the use of advancing technological processes, that seaweed is the key raw material required in biopharma, niche food production, and the biostimulant sector. The key issue for those businesses in the security of supply, and with this in mind, they've applied to my department to obtain licenses to harvest seaweed. As we consider these applications over the last couple of years, a number of specific points arose requiring legal clarification, and this has taken some time to bring clarity to issues that include the legal position with regard to rights to harvest seaweed, the nature and extent of the different types of rights, the interaction of these rights with the Foreshore Act, and the sustainability of the resource, including appropriate methods for conducting biomass estimates. To resolve these issues, my officials engaged with the Attorney General, with the Property Registration Authority of Ireland, representatives of the industry, and the harvesters themselves to establish the interaction between existing rights to harvest seaweed and the Foreshore Act. And we met a lot of the companies who are using seaweed now to add value and to bring forward new products, Irish companies, homegrown as well. And again, as Peter referred to, during my time as Minister in the science area with research and development, I met a lot of these different companies, a lot of these different scientists working on new ideas, new ways of using seaweed to be able to develop new products in the healthcare business, in the food business and so on. So there's loads of potential here. So over the last couple of months and year or two, we've met all the different sectors in this space to try and bring some clarity to this matter as well. So in broad terms, legally we've now established that these rights do exist and that they must be respected, both those of a formal nature reflected on folios and those of a more informal nature known as proffered appendere. What has now emerged from our work and the advice received is that my department cannot license seaweed harvesting in an area where a right exists, and those rights holders who exercise their right to harvest seaweed do not require consent under the Foreshore Act. We have written to all the applicants advising them of this position and affording them the opportunity to ascertain how their applications are impacted by the advice that I have received. For many of the applications involved, I appreciate and we appreciate this will not be a simple task. However, based on the advice of the Attorney General, it is simply not possible for me to grant licenses to these applications as they are currently stand. In the course of our assessment of these issues over recent months, we've had the welcome opportunity to meet many people in the sector and to listen to their views. I realise, and I can see it firsthand, that there is great potential here, and if we take the right decisions to realise it, we can really develop it in a positive way for all involved. At the core of these issues is the necessity to develop a policy for the development of this sector, which is a robust and transparent licensing system. Any licensing system has to be robust, it has to be transparent, it has to ensure the sustainability of the resource, it has to respect our marine ecosystem and recognise the valuable role that seaweed plays for all those involved in the sector from harvesting to processing. Importantly, It has to respect those existing rights, while also facilitating the growth of an industry which has shown its capability of providing high-value employment in coastal communities, very often much-needed employment in very many rural areas as well. I firmly believe that with careful research and building on the work that's happened already in the past, working together to develop a licensing system that serves the needs of all stakeholders, we can grow a sustainable wild seaweed harvesting industry capable of serving rural communities for many years to come and developing that job creation and that potential and giving people the opportunities they want of many different levels of jobs and education. So today it's important, and I've taken the opportunity, it's an important step in giving the sector the legal clarity that was required. I recognise that there's a lot more to do for this sector because it's very often an issue we debate a lot in the Houses of the Oireachtas at all levels as well. It's an issue that plays on people's minds very, very clearly. To ensure that this work is a success, the department or body charged with that work must have at its disposal a range of policy levers and supports which a number of reports in the sector have identified and are required. And there's been a lot of people involved at a Oireachtas level and a local authority level involved in reports over the last number of years, highlighting the importance of this sector and the importance of giving it ownership and putting somebody behind it that can drive it and really recognise the potential as well. So I will be working with colleagues across the different departments within a short time frame to identify the most suitable body to take responsibility for the wild seaweed sector and to really move on with the development of that area while giving everybody the opportunities they deserve as well. Secondly, today I want to deal with the marine spatial planning matters. The development of an overarching national marine spatial plan was first identified as a government policy objective in Ireland's integrated marine plan, harnessing our ocean wealth. We identified that the organisation, the regulation and the protection of marine-based activity in Ireland waters and Irish waters was being carried out on a sectorial and demand-driven basis without a strategic framework. A marine spatial plan will give us that framework, will give us that shape to our activities, and we'll have a planned centred as opposed to a development-driven. MSP is also underpinned by EU legislation. The 2014 Marine Spatial Plan Directive established an EU-wide framework for MSP. The directive established a framework for MSP and defined it as a process by which the relevant member states' authorities analyse and organise human activities in marine areas to achieve ecological, economic and social objectives. We transposed the directive under EU regulations, and there is an amendment to the Planning and Development Bill working its way through the Dáil at the moment to give MSP the same legislative footing as the National Planning Framework. So we're recognising the importance of the Marine Spatial Plan and that it's now in the Planning and Development Act. Hopefully we'll get it finished next week in the Oireachtas. It's gone on for the last couple of years. I see Philip there, I think at this stage is working on it for over 2 years. But we should be able to get it finished now over the next couple of weeks, hopefully. And that'll really highlight the importance we value the Marine Spatial Strategy and that Spatial Plan and how the importance of developing it over the couple of years ahead. In December 2017, Minister Owen Murphy and I launched the document Towards a Marine Spatial Plan for Ireland, a roadmap for the development of Ireland's first marine plan. In it, we clearly set out the principles of engagement for this process. We believe marine plans should be strategic, concise, and informed by effective public and stakeholder participation. Therefore, a core objective is to ensure that the public and all relevant stakeholders are consulted and encouraged to contribute. And again, we had a recent discussion on this in the Seaweed, and we're very clear to everybody, we want people to get involved in this process. We are very much open to consultation. I want to hear everyone's views on this over the next probably 1.5 to 2 years as we work into this plan as well. So it's very, very important. Please get involved if you possibly can. We will be facilitating the dialogue in a number of ways. An interdepartmental group is overseeing the development of this plan. This is chaired by my department and it's made up of senior representatives from the Marine Institute here in Armagh and representatives of local government and the relevant government departments. Next, we have an advisory group made up of key stakeholders from the economic, environmental and social pillars. And we also have a parallel process of stakeholder engagement with a strong focus on coastal communities. This strand is critically important and I can't stress it enough. Staff from the MSP team have engaged in a series of public engagements nationwide, and this will continue. And indeed, they're even here today, and they're on a stand along with the other exhibitors here today as well. So if you get a chance, you might engage with our team there of the MSP, get a bit of information from the early stages of it, and maybe express your interest to be involved as we go through the process over the next couple of years as well. But we're very much open to having people involved in this over the years ahead as well. And apart from the consultation we've had so far, and including today, there'll be larger, more regionally focused events will take place in the autumn and early into 2019 as well. You can also interact online with the MSP team on Twitter and elsewhere to find them and to find out where they'll be and when there'll be an event in your area, or to send them an email or to be added onto their mailing list as well to be kept informed. In September, we intend to release a baseline report of the current situation in Ireland's seas, and that will be followed on by a 2-month public consultation period So that would be the first chance for people and communities to formally input into the Marine Spatial Plan. Again, I know I'm conscious today that I'm probably preaching to the converted, but it still merits and it's still important to say that the future of our marine area is of critical importance to everyone in Ireland. We are an island nation, but we would not always appreciate the value of our ocean wealth. And I don't just mean the economic part of that. I mean the environment, the social and the economic wealth of our oceans as well. And again, that's no longer the case. We do recognise it now, and more are buying into the importance of this whole area. So we now have a unique opportunity to take a step back when we're doing this plan and to consider the type of marine area we want to have. How would it look and what do we want it to look like in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 50 or 100 years' time? By putting a plan in place today, we can have some control over that. We can have some input into that, and we can try and steer it in a certain direction. So I'd like to urge you all to consider that question and to get involved in our process by engaging with the team and to help us shape the marine plan that you want, and a plan that's part of all our futures. But more importantly, it's your plan, not our plan. We're all involved in this. It's a plan for Ireland, for everybody to be involved in. The third area I want to talk about is the marine environment. And again, it's probably the marine environment issues are something that I feature daily in the news now and are becoming very, very common. So I believe, however, that we are thankfully entering a new era where the necessity of protecting our oceans and using them sustainably is gaining global attention. And consequently, there is now awareness that positive action is required, and very often features in our own debates in the House of Directors as well. There is a coming together of minds from governments, from science, from academia, from civil society, from the NGOs and the private sector at a national and indeed global level to tackle the challenges we face. This is the catalyst bringing about a changed mindset and resulting in strong, proactive worldwide actions to address the decline of our marine ecosystems. Thankfully, our own maritime area has not been subject to the same level of devastating pressures from marine litter, from sewerage, from polluting chemicals and other harmful activities that we do see in some other global areas and other regions. But this is not to say that there are not issues and that there are not issues that we have to urgently address. The Marine Strategy Framework Directive requires us to ensure our maritime area is kept in good environmental status and that we use our marine area sustainably. This is often seen by some as something that's going to cause difficulty, but I and our department would see it, and as a government we see this as to our advantage. Sustainability and healthy ecosystems benefit us economically as well as environmentally and socially. We depend on the ocean for jobs, for food, for energy, and even our oxygen. It is essential to take strong steps to protect and improve their environmental health. We must engage with policymakers, the private sector, civil society, and the scientific communities to ensure that we address the demanding issues facing us today and into the future. Without changed behaviour, we are facing the decline of our seas' health. Our ecosystems on land are intrinsically linked with those of our oceans, and therefore it's not an exaggeration to say that if we damage our seas enough, we are placing our own survival as a species in jeopardy. We must direct our efforts and our energies to reinvigorate the economy by a healthy transition to a sustainable blue economy. We need to ensure the social, the cultural and economic benefits that our marine assets can deliver for ourselves and our children. Addressing marine environmental pressures is critical for our tourism industry. Unfortunately, coastal areas and resorts face severe environmental pressures. The viability and sustainability of our tourist industry and these sectors must become a priority. As an island nation, with one of the largest maritime areas in the EU, the health of the oceans must be at the core of our national, our regional and our international plans and engagement with our society. The topic of this summit is very relevant to Ireland's integrated marine plan, harnessing our ocean wealth, which is a whole-of-government approach to our marine environment. Again, my department is responsible for national marine environmental policy, chiefly achieved by implementation of the Marine Strategy Framework, or the MSFD. We also work very closely with OSPAR, the Regional Sea Convention partners, to reduce the impact of pollution and the harmful effects of human activities in the Northeast Atlantic region. We are working to integrate environmental considerations into all aspects of marine policy and activity to maintain our reach, to maintain and to be able to reach good environmental status, and to ensure that when we do that, that this status is maintained through sustainable use of our areas. A lot of the team from my department, most of them who are based in Wexford and the others in Cork as well, are here today and have been engaging over the last couple of days as well. Very interested in this space and take their work very, very seriously when it comes to this area. We support a range of marine environmental research, educational and awareness raising, and citizen activation programs operated by state agencies, academic institutions, Antashka and other NGOs. Also, my officials and I are currently working on introducing legislation to prohibit the sale or manufacture of products containing plastic microbeads that are likely to be rinsed into our wastewater systems. We hope to introduce this legislation later this year. And again, this is a priority for our department and certainly a priority for my senior minister, Minister Owen Murphy, as well as the Taoiseach and the government as well. And it's probably right to say as well, there's been an issue that's been brought to great focus through many other members of the Houses of the Oireachtas and the Seanad as well, because it's an area that's certainly deemed important and an area that we can have an influence on and make a direct impact on. Once this legislation is complete, our next priority will be the establishment of a network of ecologically coherent marine protected areas, or MPAs, in our marine area, maritime area. And I'm conscious these were focused on some of the debate yesterday and some of the discussion, some of the Q&A as well. Again, it's another area of work that we take very, very seriously. We have a lot of plans for in the months ahead. This will require both drafting legislation to enable the designation and protection of MPAs, along with a parallel process to identify what MPAs are required above existing special areas of conservation. Dealing with the challenges facing Ireland's marine environment is a political priority for us. And I believe that these challenges can only be addressed by joined-up thinking and actions that I'm pleased to say that we now have joined-up actions at government level. And it's very, very important that all the departments buy into this and recognise the importance of this, and they do. As marine litter is generated by both land and sea-based activities, there is significant cooperation between Minister Dennis Naughton's department and my own to deal with this issue. Also, we are working with Minister Ross's department on the new Port Reception Facilities Directive to reduce marine litter inputs. Ireland takes a lead role in many areas in relation to marine environmental policy in Europe. The marine environment is a transboundary one, and it requires a transboundary approach. As well as working with our EU partners through MSFD, we work closely with our colleagues in OSPAR. In fact, Ireland leads a number of OSPAR maritime actions, in particular relating to marine litter. A good example is that an environmental economic study on the legal and economic best practice measures to reduce the impact of single-use items commonly found as marine litter was commissioned by my department to inform the development of a new action at OSPAR level. If this action is agreed, and I believe it will be, OSPAR nations will be required to develop strategic national plans in relation to the most problematic single-use items that complement the EU plastic strategy, but also take into account particular local difficulties. This may include legal or economic measures, waste management, litter enforcement, and awareness-raising measures as appropriate. I have instructed my department to make this report available to the public through our website, where it will be published very shortly. Ireland is also involved in a number of Interreg programmes linked to some of the OSPAR actions that we lead. My department is the lead partner on the Oceanwise programme to reduce the impact of expandable polystyrene as marine litter. The Marine Institute also participates in the Clean Atlantic project, the modelling marine litter pathways and hotspots in the North-East Atlantic, and the IFADO project, which is the innovation in the framework of the Atlantic Deep Ocean, developing new and innovative marine environmental and ecosystem monitoring techniques, combining traditional monitoring techniques with new cost-effective state-of-the-art technologies. My department also provides matching funding for these programmes. I am convinced that scientific research into marine litter and marine ecology is an essential resource, not just for Ireland, but also globally. I am committed to supporting our scientists and our researchers to ensure that they continue to lead the way with evidence-based research projects. And again, that's a government acceptance of the importance of that work. I was lucky enough to be, again, Minister in Research here to be able to see it firsthand, see the great teams we have in many, many sectors, but especially in this area. But also our Taoiseach now is very familiar with some of his key advisors around them from a scientific background and experience as well. So we really recognise the importance of investing in research and development in this area and many others, but also encouraging that investment at a European level and at a global level as well to really make an impact and to combine all our resources, both private and public, across many countries as well to really make an impact in this space. For example, with the EPA support, our Galway Mayo IT, UCD and UCC are undertaking two major research studies on the sources, the pathways and the fate of microlitter entering freshwater systems, which sadly eventually ends up in the marine waters as well, and the impact of microplastics on aquatic organisms. This research will feed into policy development nationally and at EU level, informing measures to address microplastic litter. The Marine Institute undertakes a wide range of marine environmental and marine litter research and monitoring activities, including the very important seabed litter survey. My department commissions research and monitoring measures, including ongoing monitoring of beach litter used to inform the national, the EU and the OSPAR marine litter policy. It's very important we're having these events, and I probably talk a lot about our department and our agencies and the different bodies we have doing a lot of good work in this sector. But I think it's important to mention the voluntary sector, which have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to maintain our coast for many, many years. For example, there are now over 600 local community groups involved in the Antashka-led Clean Coast programme, working around our coastline to improve the local areas and amenities. I had the chance earlier last year to be at the award ceremony for that, and to recognise and to see the countless numbers of people who every weekend and week in, week out are out involved in cleaning up our coastlines, doing great work, totally in the voluntary sector, and very often at great expense, not just with their time, but even investing in some of the infrastructure they need to do that as well. So it's important that we recognise their work in this area and many other sectors as well. I am heartened to see the upsurge in citizen awareness and engagement. So I want to ensure everybody that's here today and many others who aren't here today that your voices in the voluntary sector are heard and they are appreciated, and certainly your work is. I am proud to say that my department provides funding and active assistance to a wide range of citizen awareness and activation programmes. I wish we didn't end the spot to keep giving more money out, but we don't. But we try to where we can to intervene, and certainly with values of project and where groups are doing great work as well. And hopefully, as things get better in this country, we'll be able to get more money in this area as well, because it's certainly a very, very important sector. It is an indicator of the importance of this area that we have included several of these programmes under our formal MSFD programme of measures and have committed to funding them as marine environmental actions to the UN. And very often my colleagues in the department spend a lot of time at a European level boasting of the great work that's been done in Ireland. And it's nice to be able to do that and to be able to point to projects that work well in Ireland. And again, they only work well because of the voluntary sector getting involved and cooperating with us and making that happen for us as well. But it's nice to be able to say at an international level that Ireland plays its part and sets a very, very high bar in some of these areas too. Education of our young people is also crucial, and I particularly want to mention the Marine Environment module of our Green Schools programme. It was rolled out nationwide last year. I think over 230 schools took part of it and availed of it, and certainly won awards on it as well. It gave me great pleasure earlier in May to hand out the first Green School flags ever to be awarded in this module. These amazing young people and their incredible awareness, skills and knowledge, they'll influence their families, they'll influence the communities in turn and their schools, and they're setting, again, a new culture in this whole area as well. They, as I said on that day, they're now our ambassadors and they're custodians of our environmental future as well. And there's nobody better than our young people to invest in, because they'll really force us all to do better in this space and to up our game when it comes to this sector. Again, our fishing industry is also answering the call to address marine litter challenges. I commend them and those that are here today for their engagement with Mordish Kawara in a wide range of marine litter activities, such as the Why Not and the Fishing for Litter schemes, alongside the other BIM initiatives, such as seeking ways to address the problems of ghost fishing gear. We are all familiar now with the images on our screens of overwhelming levels of litter, of marine litter in our oceans. The circular economy, principles of reducing consumption, reusing items and recycling are central to mitigating this. We all need to change how we live, how we consume in the coming years to prevent further devastation of our environment. In this context, I was very pleased to welcome recent EU initiatives such as the Plastic Strategy and the proposed Single-Use Items Directive. This approach will present some societal challenges, but it is clear that our current disposable society is not sustainable, particularly as the planet's populations increase. Your government, our government, is committed to increasing the value of a sustainable blue economy by 2030. Equally, we are committed to maintain, or in some cases regain, the good environmental status of Ireland's maritime area. My officials and I will continue our work to identify effective measures and take the necessary steps in conjunction with many others to provide solutions to deal with the complex challenges facing our marine environment. Finally, I want to conclude my remarks today by referring to the Maritime Area and Foreshore Amendment Bill, which is the MAFA bill that's gone on for the last couple of years. Most people probably here are aware of it or have heard of it in the past, might not always know the detail of it. But this bill intends to streamline the marine consent process through aligning the foreshore consent system with the planning system and providing for a single environmental impact assessment for projects. It will also provide a coherent mechanism to facilitate and to manage development in the exclusive economic zone and on the continental shelf, including for the first time a comprehensive regime for the regulation of offshore renewable energy, again, which is probably part of last night's debate. I know that the timescale for this legislation attracted some discussion yesterday and even before that, because it's dragging on now for a long number of years, and it's something that we want to try to get dealt with as quickly as we possibly can. The process of drafting this legislation, in line with the government decision, has brought to light many technically challenging and legally complex issues which have to be tackled for the first time in the Irish context. To ensure a robust regulatory environment fit for the 21st century, it is vital to get this legislation right. And I know it's been taking a bit of time. The end result will be worth it, and that's what I hope to be able to clarify as well. So while we wish to have rapid progress, the investment of time and consideration now should prevent future impediments to development and avoid repeating many of the mistakes of the past. Those issues are subject of intensive efforts by my officials to resolve the impact of a range of marine functions across government. A different legislative configuration to that envisaged in the general scheme may therefore be necessary, and that's something we're working on with all our departments as well. So upon receipt of the finalised legal advice, I think at one stage we got over 180 pages of legal advice back from our Attorney General. That's something we had to work through as well. So when we finalise all that legal advice, we intend to bring to government options intended to progress the modernisation of marine consenting as quickly and as efficiently and as effectively as possible while balancing all the needs of our sectors. So again, I want to thank you all for your attention here today, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of today and the rest of the weekend's events as well. It's great to have the weather. I have to say, on all my visits to Galway, I haven't always had this great weather, although many tell me it's here all the time, so I'm glad to see it, and hopefully it's certainly here to stay for this weekend as well. So enjoy your time here, but thank you more importantly for your interest in this space. It's a very, very important sector for all of our government departments and government agencies, but it's very, very important for the whole of Ireland, and thank you for your time and interest, and appreciate it.